Car Motivator followers, this is Sean Kelley, the Carbiz Coach, CEO of Car Motivators, helping automotive leaders achieve great results through their people and technology with a unique approach to people development. Now, speaking of technology, I know you guys like, Sean, where's your normal background in your office? Well, my office is being renovated and painted. And as you guys know, one of my coaching clients is Drive-Centric CRM. So I asked the CEO, I said, hey man, after we're done coaching today, can I post up in your conference room? So here I am making my video at the Drive-Centric headquarters, and I've got an exciting announcement about that, which I'll share with you guys at the end of this video. And today's Winning Cultures webcast, okay, we've got some goals here, all right? The goals are twofold. The goals are to help managers and salespeople around a specific topic. And I want managers, for the managers, I want managers to understand what treating your employees like they are their own business really looks like. And for salespeople, salespeople in the auto industry have all heard the saying, you are your own business. And salespeople, I want you guys to understand what being your own business really looks like, and how adopting these mindsets as managers, as leaders in the auto industry, and salespeople, how it can directly affect your business. So that's what this webcast is all about. And I'm really excited to introduce a really good friend of mine. He's a guy by the name of Erik Nelson. He's a leader in the auto industry, great manager. I've been blessed enough and lucky enough to have met him through LinkedIn. We became friends there. We've had several amazing coaching conversations. Well, I'll let him be the judge of that. He ended up coming to see myself and a couple of my friends speak at the Rockstar Automotive Conference in Las Vegas. Erik's an amazing leader, and he also happens to be the owner of the Dealer Talk podcast, which we will talk about that at the end as well, and where you can watch and observe that amazing show. So Erik, let me introduce you, and go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. Give us a quick 3-minute background on your career in the automotive industry.
Well, the automotive industry came into my life because, quite frankly, I was a cook in the Air Force for 7 years, right? And I got out of the Air Force and I decided I was going to be a cook in the civilian life as well. And I can remember interviewing with a Village Inn manager at the time. I was in Alaska. I was in Anchorage, Alaska. My wife, she was in the Air Force with me. That's where I met her. She got stationed in Alaska when I got out. And I can remember interviewing with this manager from the Village Inn. And I asked him, I said, point blank, I said, look, here's the deal, bro. I said, how much do you make? Just be real with me. How much do you make? He says, you know what? I pulled down $53,000 a year. And I thought to myself, if I could just learn how to make $53,000 a year, I would do anything. Anyways, long story short, I went to work for GNC after that interview. I didn't get that job. I did go work at a place called Double D's Restaurant. And I used to walk to work, which was about a mile, and walk home at night. And I can remember very specifically that I had topped out my pay scale at the time at the Double D's Restaurant. And I was getting paid $10.50 an hour, which was the top range of what I was going to make there. And I did a lot, and I know I love cooking, but I was at the top of what I did. Anyways, I'm walking home, smelling like grease again, and I said to myself, man, oh man, oh man, I know I got to do something else. You got to understand, I'm a country boy from Montana, a total introvert. Talking to folks is not what I do. It ain't what I'm about. It's highly uncomfortable, but it was necessary, because if I wanted to make more, I had to get out of my comfort zone. So that's what I did. I went down and interviewed with at the time remember when we had newspapers?
Oh, yeah.
Well, newspapers.
Hey, newspapers are the thing still? A bunch of my dealers just put ads in the local newspaper. No, I'm just joking.
The newspaper at the time, they were interviewing for a shop there in Anchorage, Alaska. There was a Anchorage Chrysler Dodge, and I interviewed at the Dodge store. And long story short, the Dodge manager, the guy that's interviewing me, said, well, what's the sales experience you have? And I said, look, man, I don't, but that doesn't matter. I know I can do this deal. He said, well, I apologize. We don't hire experienced sales staff here. And I said, well, so you're telling me no? He says, yeah, I'm telling you no. He says, but if you want, you can walk across to the Chrysler store and see if they're hiring over there. And I said, hey, thank you for your time. Stuck out my hand. Thank you so much. And walked across the Chrysler place and walked into the sales office. And because I had made a decision, you see, I walked in the sales office and I said, hey, look, I'm looking to hire on here. And long story short, they did. They said, you can start Monday. He said, why do you want to work here? And I said, I just want to prove that guy across the street that he just made the biggest mistake of his life. And they said, yep, you can start on Monday. I'll walk back over to the Dodge store, talk to that manager I was interviewing with, and say, hey, look, bro, I want to thank you for your time and helping me make a decision, but I promise you, made a huge mistake. I'm sorry. And I thank you, though. So that was the beginning of that was in January of '99, Anchorage, Alaska. Golly, what a ball.
Wow, man. Wow. I bet it was, you were selling a lot of four-wheelers up there, 4x4s. What do you think? A lot of four.
We sold a lot of trucks. I actually sold a Hummer. Couldn't believe it at the time. I sold a Hummer to a Native American up there that he had the oil pipeline going across his property where he lived, and he was getting paid $50,000 a month. And he ended up buying that Hummer, and I think we discounted the thing for like $1,500 or something like that, and just made a poundy. But boy, that was yeah, a lot of trucks. A lot of trucks.
That's hilarious. So yeah, that'd be too cold for me, my friend. Missouri's too cold for me, but here I am, coaching. And then it's funny, almost all I'd say about 70% of my clients are like on the Northeast coast. So I have some Midwest ones too, but my other coaches, they're always like, how come we don't get any, like, let's get some California projects going. I'm like, that's a good idea. So yeah. So Erik, today's topic, right? We're talking about what does it mean to be an entrepreneur, really have your own business? What are the benefits to having that mindset in the car business? And I believe that whole mindset of you are your own business, I think it came up to help salespeople in the car business take more ownership in their job, right? Because if you look at your career, that you are your own business and you take more mental ownership of it, and then you're going to achieve greater results. One of the reasons that, again, we came up with this topic was because, number one, the last couple of weeks, I've had a bunch of coaching conversations where managers are frustrated about certain things. They want their employees to take more ownership. And then they start talking about how they're so mad at their employee who came in 5 minutes late, and they were yelling at them and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait, ownership, but now you're going to control the minute at which they show up for work. When you own your own business, the ownership to work is there, right? So certain topics, and then in talking to you were like, hey, I wrote an article on this. So tell the Car Motivator followers a little bit about your article that give us some of the main points of that article, and what was that article about?
Okay, so the first step in being successful in being able to sell an automobile is that you have got to decide that you're going to be there to sell an automobile. So I have this theory, and you have to understand, I interview hard because I want folks that want to do whatever it takes to be in my dealership. And I want them to make a decision. I approach the whole thing like you're an IBO, you're an independent business owner. Okay, somebody else owns the dealership, somebody owns a franchise, somebody else owns the advertising and the paperwork and the coaching staff you're going to get, all the benefits that come with this place. Okay, but you are you're the driver. You're the business owner. It's up to you. I promise you interview with me, you're going to hear from me several times that you're going to get paid exactly what you're worth. And sometimes that's uncomfortable for folks. So the reason why I state that is because I want to help folks understand walking in the door that no, I'm sorry, Joe, if you come in to try this job, it's not for you. I want folks to come in the door and, yep, this is exactly what I'm willing to do. I sit down with a list of expectations that I require from folks walking in the door. I have I call it almost a list of things you can do to fire yourself. Because if you're not willing to commit, and I haven't signed this form, if you're not willing to commit to these things that you're willing to do day in, day out, in order to be successful, guys, in order to be successful, if you're not willing to sign that thing, it's kind of a pucker factor. We got to sign that thing. But if you're not willing to sign that, then let's not kid ourselves. Let's not even begin the journey. I'm willing to go all the way. Everything that I can do. I asked the question. Now, it's somewhere during the session, I asked the question, hey, listen, what are things that I can do to help you become successful? I know I have a vested interest. I know I have a vested interest in your success because I'm tired of salespeople and managers and all these people talking about my customer, my cars. No. That's the owner's customers. That's the owner's cars. The reality is you have the privilege of showing up here. Hey, we provide you with a desk, a computer, a chair, all these things, okay? But it's up to you. Have you made the decision? Have you made the decision?
Great points here, and I want to touch on making a decision, and then I want to cover the management's responsibility in helping the salespeople really be their own business. So to your point here on the decision, that's funny that you brought that up because I'll never forget when I made the decision and how it changed my results at the dealership. I had worked for several other sales in other sales industries, and I didn't really like it. One was like one of those weird pyramid scheme, sports sales things and all that. And I didn't get I was supposed to get a paycheck and I didn't. So I was like, is sales really lucrative? Can you make money? And so I didn't really buy in. I didn't trust it. But the moment that I decided, I was like, you know what? It's not fair. I can't say it doesn't work unless I've really given it my all. I've got to give it 150%. And only then if I fail, can I walk away from it and feel good about it. So I did. I bought in. It was like a decision I made. And then from there on, I just absolutely crushed it. And so I agree with you. You've got to decide that you're all in and just focus on nothing but making yourself succeed in that industry. That decision can change your life in the car business. And that's when you own your own business. I think that's something you do. You make a decision to go all in because you don't have a safety net. Now, you said something there that I'm concerned with, though, and I'm not concerned with, but I want to address here, okay? And I think it's almost like a paradox, all right? We tell our salespeople to, okay, you're your own business. By the way, what percentage of managers in the industry would you say tell salespeople you're your own business?
It's very small. I mean, you're talking about I think it's a small percentage of folks that are as vested in the success of the sales staff.
Eric, let me know I'm sorry, what percentage of managers, I'm not saying they treat it as such and their salespeople treat it as such, but what percentage of managers say that to their team? They say, you are your own business and preach that.
Yeah, well, I would have, and I hope that it's been my experience. They say that a bunch. I mean, that's a large group. If you want to be good at what you do, I think that's probably in your best interest to say that. So yeah, if I got that confused, I apologize. Yeah.
No, you're okay. My question wasn't clear. Here's my point. I think that almost every manager I've seen and dealer principal talks about that and says it. Okay, but what does implementing that look like? If you think about this, if you're a manager, and by the way, just to give you the audience, Car Motivator followers line of sight, Eric and I haven't discussed this yet. So this is like a live, like real conversation where we're going to hash out maybe some different of opinions. But that's what this is all about. It's about honesty, candor, and just helping add value to you guys. Eric and I, we have one of our shared moral beliefs is that if you give to others, you will receive back. We just want to give value to you guys. That's what this is about. That's why I'm hanging out at the Drive Centric headquarters past close. My buddy Eric has been done with work Eric, thank you for doing this, buddy, after work.
Of course, my pleasure, my absolute pleasure.
So if all these managers and dealer principals are saying, be your own business, right? What does that actually look like from the manager's, from the salesperson's perspective? How should they treat their employees that is actually treating them like they're their own business?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan in being the first and foremost, I'm a huge fan of being the example first. I mean, if I'm going to preach something, I'm going to have done it too. I feel as if, that if we get stuck in on the sales tower or in the finance department and we don't move out of those seats, and we expect these things and we preach these things to these guys without actually having done it ourselves, we lose the impact. So I have no problem in walking to the service department, introducing myself to our customers and saying, hey guys, I'm here to introduce myself. I want to offer you a free test drive to the newest vehicle. What are we in here doing today? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, we have a brand new one of those. Do you have 5, maybe 10 minutes of your time that you could drive it just to give us feedback on what you think of that vehicle? I do that all the time because I think it's necessary. It's not a bad thing to have interaction with your customers. Get on the phone. Send out emails. They've got to see that you're doing tasks as well. So I've got to be able to first set the tone, and then it's important to do to follow up with your sales staff to ensure that they're doing those things too. And look, I'm a huge proponent of communication. Talking, a lot of one-on-ones.
I think there's by the way, I wanted to interject something when you said communication. Yeah. I think that if you're a leader who really treats your employees like they have their own business, all right, the communication is different. And I'll tell you why. When I first, meet a dealership, one of the things I often find out, and I was no different as a manager, is that they're leading through blind obedience. They tell their employee what to do and exactly what to say, and they expect them to go say it verbatim and listen to what I say and you'll be fine, and do exactly what I do and you'll be fine. And there's very little thought-provoking questions on and listen, don't worry, we're going to cover the salesperson side too. But think about this, managers. You're sitting there telling your employees that they're their own business, but then you're telling them exactly what to say and do. To me, that's not owning your own business. When you have your own business, you have to problem solve. You have to think. You have to come up with solutions. You have to A/B test stuff and see what works and what doesn't. It would be more of a collaborative effort. I think, what are your thoughts on that? Like, if you're a manager and you're preaching to your team that they're their own business, but then you're robbing them of their ability to think and come up with new ideas and really lead them through individuality. Do you feel like that's the opposite of teaching them to have their own business? I think it is.
I do agree. I think the way the system is set up now, where you have a sales tower, you have a finance department, you have a salesman at their desk. I don't think the industry is right now set up for. I understand what you're saying, because I make it very clear. I present one of the approaches I would have and try and overcome an objection. I said, but listen, you got to put this in your own words. And listen, do you want to talk it out before we go back out there? Or do you need help? Do you want me to do it? I'm a big fan of sales staff falling down. I mean, I think we have to allow them to fall down. It's okay to fall down and fail. You know what I mean? But if we have to trust them enough that when we ask for their input, that we've got to do exactly what they're telling us. Hey, these are our kind of our antennae going out there talking to multiples of people, and you're one individual kind of running the show, right? You've got to trust these guys. You've got to say, hey, listen, this is my suggestion. Do you think that's the right approach with this? What's the hot button? I mean, there's a lot of, that's why I'm talking about communication. It's important to have a good verbatim, but I encourage folks, I encourage my sales staff, at least initially, to go out there and try in their own words. I make it a point. This is you. I want you to do this in your way. I'm giving you my suggestions. I do it my way. I'm looking for you to be the best you that you can be. That's really what we're after. So, I mean, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, actually, by the way, I love how you're saying, be authentic, right, to yourself. Use your words, not mine. So you're giving them a little bit, you're giving them some freedom and to operate within a certain frame, boundaries, but you're letting them come up with the message, right? And
and also it's important to note too, because I've met some tough, thick-headed people on the sales tower, is that if you're giving the freedom to your sales staff to do these things, listen, if they get it wrong or if it fails, there's no benefit in treating them any worse because they're already feeling bad about the failing part, okay? You've got to accept the fact that you gave them permission to go ahead. And if they fail, they fall down, then you know what? That's okay. That's okay. I think that's 100% all right.
100%, man. I wrote one of the blogs I wrote was called Failure is an Option. And it's funny because I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's like the best close. I agree, man. They want the deal more than the manager does, in most cases. Yeah, sure. They might be fearful. They might make a mistake. But you're right. And there's a great coaching question I'll share with you and the followers right now. So managers, when your people mess up, don't just outright tell them where they screwed up and not to do it again, okay? That's a big mistake. You're just shutting them down and they're putting on their boxing gloves. They're not going to listen to you. They're just going to, try to defend themselves and tell you why they're going to come up with the excuses as a form of self-defense. So instead, just ask them this amazing coaching question. What could you have done differently next? What could you do differently next time that would give you a better result? Let them, because if they're their own business, they should be self-assessing and coming up with solutions. If you're always yelling, telling, and selling where they messed up, I'm telling you, 80% of the time when you ask them a coaching question like that, they'll come up with a better answer than you would have given them. And you're like, wow, that's a good, good. They dealt with the customer, right? What do you think?
I think that you and I would get along brilliantly inside of a dealership. It's just that we hold the same values, the same truths, and the same pathway. At the end of the day, we're trying to not only gain the business of the customer, but I'm also trying to empower the individual that's initiating the sale in order to somehow elevate their thinking of themselves. Because quite frankly, that's a win-win situation. That's how I feel about it. So I feel very strong about that. I do a lot of practicing where I'll take the new sales staff, I'll take them outside, not only do a walk around with the vehicle, show the benefits of that, but I want to get them on camera. Why? Why do I want to get them on camera? Because it's totally uncomfortable. And listen, folks, confidence is the selling part, okay? If we're confident in what we're doing, then we have that ability to sell to anybody, okay? I believe in getting sales staff, especially if they're leaders on the board, getting sales staff to get in front of a sales meeting for the group and get up there and just talk. Why? Because that's a confidence building session. It's a totally awkward. You've got to set the tone. You got to set the tone. You got to set the stage. Okay. You let the sales staff know, hey, listen, there's no booing. There's no hissing. There's no laughing. This is about elevating the salesperson. He has something to give because you know why? He or she is kicking your butt. You might want to pay attention. Now listen, can you do me a favor, Janice, and stand up and tell us how you're doing it? Would you please do that? Share that with me. And you know what I'm doing? I'm leaning forward to their conversation. I'm looking right in their eyes. I'm smiling, and nodding with whatever points they're coming up with. Probably their eyes initially are going to be glued to me because they're looking for acceptance. It's okay to move on. And we're building confidence. We're building confidence. We're building confidence. We're building confidence. At the end of the sales meeting, what happens is more times than not, they come up and say, you know what? That was so scary, but man, that was a great time.
You know what, Eric, I love that point. And it's ironic. I'm literally spending the next 3 days at a dealer in Ohio. So I'm flying out of St. Louis tomorrow. I'm going to be 3 days at a dealer group where we are implementing an in-house training process that involves, guess who? Not just the managers, but the sales team. Because one of my favorite sayings is not everyone's good at everything, but everyone's good at something. And if you really isolate each employee's strength and then find out, hey, do you want to take on some additional responsibility? When you and I both know, right? You train on something, you teach on something, you coach on something, you become better at it. And, at the end of the day, if they are training on what they do best, they're helping the rest of the team. The team's already heard the training 75 times from their manager, right? They've already fallen asleep taking the online training sales course. So this is a different perspective, and it's so relevant to that store's customer demographic and processes. There's nothing better than an internal training process, and it's free, and it's complete. So I'm excited that you mentioned that because this is part of the project that I'm going to do over the next 3 days. And I love I'm going to take that from you if that's okay and have them conduct some of the sales meetings.
It's yours. Take it.
All right. Perfect. That'll be part of it. They'll conduct the sales meeting. Thank you, Eric. So let's talk about so when it comes to you mentioned the T word, right? You talked about two things. You're having them sign off on your expectations before they come work with you. So important, man. And then you talked about trust, right? So there's something in between there that builds the trust, right? So giving clear expectations helps build trust. But then accountability builds trust, right? Because if you're holding people accountable around those expectations and they know what those are, you're holding them accountable to it, then they're going to perform and meet those expectations, or they're going to get off the team, right? Like you said, they're going to fire themselves, right? They're going to go out of business themselves. And bottom line, then you're left with what? A team of people that are right? They're meeting your expectations now, and they're accountable, and they're taking ownership. All of a sudden, trust, right? Trust now exists because you're like, wow, they're doing what they're supposed to. What are some of the things that you've done? I know we're going a little off kilter here, but I think this is all tied to having your own business, right? So how do you as a leader show trust to your team and really help earn the right to treat them like they're their own business and give them that respect, trust, and guided autonomy?
There's really only one way. You actually have to care. You have to be authentic, and you have to care. The message can be, okay, listen, you're messing up, but I want to help you get back on track. I'm concerned that you're not doing all the things you said you were going to do walking in the door, okay? And it's my job to try and steer you back to the success land, or I'm going to lose you, quite frankly. You're just going to drift off into the never, never land. You're going to not make any money. You're not going to have any fun. And quite frankly, we're going to have to let you go. I mean, I don't say that to be mean, because my point being is that, and this is critical that we say this, is that, maybe selling automobiles is not for you. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing completely wrong with that. Okay. Don't hang your head if this is not for you. Don't be, this is, when you're able to have a conversation like that with somebody and they say, you know what, you're right, and you make it okay to say, yeah, you're right, then that's another factor that builds trust, right? It's about being authentic. So that I believe in that 100%.
Well, Eric, I can't even tell you, you are 100% right, and you and I would do great together on the showroom floor. And what you're talking about here, it's unbelievable, because you're talking about detaching what myself and my coach, we call detaching from the outcome. Think about this. If you are bringing a salesperson onto your team and they are and it's supposed to be their own business, then you're not their boss or manager. It's more of a partnership. And in that sort of situation, when they're struggling, your goal isn't to I got to keep them on the team. They need to change or else. Detach yourself from the outcome and aim to just find out, is it a good fit or not? Because I agree with you. It's not right or wrong if they're not meant to be on that team. It's just reality, right? So when you detach yourself from the outcome, you just take away so much of your stress as a leader, and you really will seek to understand if it's a good fit or not. And by doing that, you'll be able to turn them around. I just so you know, I got metrics, turnaround coaching for myself and my dealers. We can turn around 62% of underperforming employees in 30 days. Okay, and that's a hard.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
But it's a process.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But no, it's a process, and the process is detaching from the outcome, caring enough to sit down with people. It makes me crazy when I'm sorry, managers. I'm calling you like it is, and I promise we're going to call out the salespeople here in a minute. I love you guys, but managers, you fire someone just like that, and that is a human being that has a family and has bills to pay. And I mean, not all managers do this, but on the other side, right, because there's two ends of the spectrum. The other side, you care so much that you don't hold people accountable, and you end up with a team of people you don't trust because they know they can do anything and get away with it forever. And you let the wrong people stay on the team. And so there has to be a balance, right? And Eric, I love the fact that, to your point, you build trust by caring about them and just looking at this from objectively.
Yes. I mean, that's the only way to be. I let them know walking in the door, this business, this game, because I love to call it the game. When I used to sell cars, and quite frankly, I sell cars still today. I mean, I let them know that, this job that you've decided to go ahead and attach yourself to, it is literally 95% mental. It's 5% process, doing the same stuff over and over again. But this deal is 95% mental. Why? Well, because it's a Saturday, it's raining, it's cold outside, and especially if the wind's blowing, there ain't nobody coming in. That deal's mental, because for somebody that likes to kill something every single day, I don't want to be there just standing there looking at each other going, gosh, great conversation. I'm going to tell you something. When I was selling cars, people didn't like me or enjoy my time because I wasn't there for the conversations. I made so many people upset because I didn't hang out with the group of individuals that wanted to talk. I got no time for you, bro. If this deal's not going to work out for me, I'm going to go home. Because you know what? I'll make this much money at home. I don't need the conversations. I don't need to get along. I don't need the friendships. I mean, I was just relentless. I was right or wrong. That's who I was, man.
No, you know what? I respect you for having firm boundaries, and you're coming to work because truly when you have your own business, you are coming to work because there's no safety net. And I think that's one of the things that, that detracts from the truly like, hey, I am my own business, is that there is a draw. And, for some people, it does pay their bills. And I think that's a challenge. But to your point, it is mental. And I think a great leader, right, knows how to create that ownership. They know, like all the points we talked about earlier, they know how to create guided autonomy. They know how to set clear expectations. They know how to be a partner versus a boss. They know how to communicate effectively and inspire and motivate people. And I think that's a lot of the opportunity, right? Like finding the balance between, the extreme autonomy levels where there's just, the freaking Lord of the Flies situation and the hard charging, like do as exactly as I say and not as I do. It's all a balance that leaders need to do. And let's dive into the salesperson side of it. The salesperson side, and I think salespeople taking ownership. One of the things for me, the red flag that tells me that that a salesperson or sales team isn't necessarily taking ownership is like when we're going in and we're doing our cultural assessment and we're doing our interviews, and the salespeople are pointing fingers at the dealership. They're always blaming. They're pointing fingers at things they can't control necessarily. We don't get enough opportunities. It's the dealership's fault. It's our marketing sucks. Our internet providers, our BDC, it's their fault. What are your thoughts when it comes to salespeople taking mental ownership of their own business?
Well, I'll say it again. I mean, I make it, and I was always reminded of it. I mean, as a salesperson, as an entity, as a person that's able to create income, you're going to get paid exactly what you're worth. I mean, that did it for me. Once I found that out, that I was going to get paid this month exactly what I was willing to put into it, I didn't have the room to bitch. And I apologize if that offends anybody, but that's the truth, man. The reality is that if it's to be, it's up to me. I took that to heart. I took that to heart. And I make it a point that the sales staff that I work with, they know that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, the crying sessions, the complaining. No. Do yourself a favor. Go find somebody else. Maybe get yourself a big pillow. I used to tell folks, get yourself a great big pillow. Go home and just beat the heck out of it, okay? But when you show up tomorrow, it's go time. So the mentality of it all is that you've got to be completely cocked coming into the dealership. You have got to be ready to go, because here's how it works, okay? The convenience of the customer coming in is not going to be very apparent to you, okay? You've got to be ready to go at a drop of a hat. And quite frankly, those are one of the things that I just enjoyed the most about the auto industry, because it is such an off-kilter deal. You know what I'm saying? It's like the old Batman scenes where the floors are tilted. You know what I mean? Nothing is level. Nothing is up and down. It's all a game. I mean, I believe selling automobiles as a salesman, if you're good at what you do, I put on the show. I mean, I believe that 100%. I put on a great show. I get paid a tremendous amount of money to put on a great show. And my customers are happy. I believe we sell perception. We sell perception. I mean, there's metal involved there somewhere, but we sell perception is really what we do. We want those customers to come back to us because we sell perception. So, I mean, mindset is absolutely critical walking in the door, or you're kidding yourself.
Eric, in PSYOP, one of the first things they taught us was perception is reality, and I agree with you, right? I mean, it brings me back to my early days selling cars, and we had this big buff guy, not unlike yourself. They call Eric the Viking for a reason. Eric's like 6'6". The guy's Eric, ginormous fella. So anyway, he's a guy like you, but way more muscular. And no, I'm just joking. But I love it. I'd like to joke with you. So they had this guy, but I had this big burly muscular dude, and my subprime finance manager's like, his name was Jeff Cash, great guy. He's like, hey, go show him the PT Cruiser. I'm like, the purple one? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, there's no way he'll take it. But I'm like, whatever. I'm all in right at this point. So I'm like, you're gonna love this car. It's amazing. And I get so pumped up, and I do this like walk around presentation of my life because I really was looking at it like it was my own business at that point. And the guy, he's just sitting there like this the whole time. And then he looks up at me when I'm done, and I'm like, and he goes, this thing's sexy as hell. Talking about a PT Cruiser. but you're right, man. It's creating the perception that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And also another thing you mentioned, right? Coming to work. I think one of the biggest challenges, because of the randomness of the showroom floor, very few salespeople have routines that lead to success. And I think it's just like, come to work and you're at the mercy. I'm going to tell you right now, with me having my own business, and I don't have a safety net. I have no draw. There's no salary. There's no benefits. It's just me, and I eat what I shoot. And it's a different mindset. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am ready to spring on any opportunity. I won't interrupt the coaching conversation for it, but I promise you this, I'll delegate it out in 2 seconds to the right person on my team. I agree with you completely. Someone who has mental ownership is going to be ready for any opportunity. They're going to always present with 150% passion and enthusiasm, and furthermore, they're going to come to work. And I think having a game plan in addition to that, and working more effectively and efficiently, I think that's another thing I'll add, is that, always, I believe in the cycle of continuous improvement. I think a lot of stuff car salespeople do, they can pair up with other things they need to do to be more successful. Case in point, I had a salesman that's like, man, I don't have enough time to prospect and do social media that I want to do. And I'm like, so what are you doing now? And he talked about how he spends a lot of time after the sale following up with customers, making sure their used cars or, the dents are fixed or they got them an extra key or whatever. I was like, so when you're doing that, right, are you taking those, I was like, oh, are your customers happy? He's like, yeah, they're happy as heck. I was like, okay, so you've got happy customers that you're going above and beyond for. I go, you're going to be handing them a key. Why not hit record on your Facebook page, or, you know what I mean? And show that to the world, because that's what people care about, right? And the light bulb went off. So I think, being consistent, if you're treating it like it's your own business, you're always trying to figure out how can you make your actions more profitable. What else? Any other tips for salespeople on how they can really treat treat their job like it's their own business?
It's just, I used to have, I'm working with old car dogs that used to keep the receipts for their meals for their customers. They just really bought into the fact if they did dry clean, they kept those receipts too. All those little things might not mean that much, and maybe there is no write-offs in it, but the mentality of it all is really effective. It puts you in a space where you are taking ownership of what you have. I prefer that the sales staff, they take their office space and they do whatever they want to it. You know what I mean? As long as it's not disrespectful to them, but it makes them more personable to them. Anything I can do to get them to buy into that, this little spot, this little section of the dealership, this is yours, bro. This is you. Do with it what you want. But here's what we expect out of you. 10 to 15 cars, 20 to 25 cars. This is what we expect out of you. You can do anything you want until you don't come up with the results. That's huge.
What a great answer. It's funny because I didn't expect that to come up, but I literally, while Eric was talking there, guys, I started rooting through my briefcase, but I just realized I literally had a stack of receipts this tall from everything from buying a Sprite at the gas station, because that's business expenses. It's a tax write-off, and I think that if you treat that like it's your business, I think it's easy to forget like the impact one employee can have over the course of a year or 3 years when you do look out for the company and you try to save on gas and you try to save, not roll over those mileage, right? Go over 36,000 miles and mile the car out of warranty. All those little things add up. Yeah, if you take ownership, you're going to look out for stuff like that. And things like that don't go unnoticed, man. It's unbelievable. I told a story on LinkedIn that got a huge, I don't know if you saw this one or not, but I talked about how I was way late. I was coaching with the dealer principal. We were there like 3 hours past close, and in his office, he had security cameras on his lot. He had like a $400 bottle of scotch. So we were enjoying a little drink and talking about the successes we've had. We were excited. And all of a sudden, one of his guys came back after close to get a plate off the car, and he saw it pop up on the security camera, and he didn't know we were there. But he's walking around doing something on the lot, and we're like bending over, like, what's he doing? The next day, we find out he was picking up license plate screws that people just left on the lot, you know. And I mean, those things pop tires, they raise your inventory costs, they make your customers mad. I mean, right? The impact that one person can have on the business is so vast. Would you agree with that? To your point,
bro, that is an individual that needs to be acknowledged. And you know what? Out of the blue, this guy needs to receive a check from the owner saying, "Hey, listen, I noticed you." Maybe even a placard, something that makes significant of the extra above and beyond this guy's gone. Because people, quite frankly, employees will, bro, they'll give you their all for that kind of stuff. That's just the stuff that'll make people stay. That's the stuff. It ain't cash.
Eric,
It's those things that will make people stay forever. You understand? If you pay attention to the excellence and you acknowledge the excellence, they'll stay forever. It's a simple recipe. We've got to get out of this mindset of run through, folks. I absolutely am 100% against it, and I'll fight the dude, man. Let's meet in the back lot. I'm in. I'll fight the dude that thinks that, you know, the sales staff is just somebody to be used up and spit out.
You don't want to fight
I'm
Eric.
Not play that game.
You don't want to fight Eric. He's a big dude. I'm telling you. But Eric, no, you know, it's funny you said that. My coaching question to the dealer principal is, hey, well, let's find out what. So when we found out what he did the next day, I literally asked the dealer principal. I was like, so what are you going to do to recognize him for doing a good job? And he's like, that's a good point. He's like, how about we give him that scotch? I was like, it's up to you, man. That's your $400 bottle. So he gave him the scotch in the sales meeting. He got everyone together. And you know, it's funny, like I have dealer, it's interesting you brought up recognition, and this is a side, you know, a little side path to ownership and entrepreneurship here. But, you know, it is so important. And I meet managers and dealers across the country that are like, why should I recognize my people for doing their job? They're supposed to do this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want them to repeat these desired behaviors? And they're like, well, yeah, of course. And I said, well, sometimes people succeed by accident and they don't know what they did well. So by telling them, by recognizing someone for a job well done, sometimes you're helping them to understand, oh, that helped me succeed. I didn't know. Another thing too is, like you said, it motivates people to stay on your team. So important. And thank you for sharing that. And now I'm gonna throw one more out there before we start to wrap up here, which is gratitude, right? Gratitude. And this comes from a guy who, you know, was terrified. I mean, I'm going to tell you, you guys know my story, how I transitioned to my business, but I've been the guy who's been thrown out of the nest, and I had to fly to be able to, you know, again, pay my bills and grow my business and get to where I'm at today. And it's been nothing short of an extremely, one of the biggest challenges of my life. And I share that because I'm not trying to talk anyone out of being an entrepreneur here, but you have so many tools given to you at a dealership. I'm talking CRMs, you know, leadership, you got sales training, you've got millions of dollars worth of inventory to sell. You've got, you know, social media, you've got marketing. I mean, it's ridiculous how many tools salespeople have in the car business. And the car business is such a fun place to do business, and it takes care of so many millions of Americans that might struggle elsewhere. And so when I hear people that are ungrateful and don't appreciate what the car business is, it really gets to me. It's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, Eric, as you can tell. So I want to ask you about gratitude. You know, if you own your own business and you are paying your bills and you're succeeding and you've got inventory, and you know, how grateful should you be? How can a salesperson show ownership by being grateful?
Okay, so I'm going to go a little off track here, but I'm going to talk. Let's revert back to perception, because I'm not necessarily sure that I wasn't one of those individuals who felt the same way. it took for me getting out of this country, the United States of America, going into another country, to really appreciate the gift that we have in this country. People don't die going in containers, I guess going over walls, whatever it takes to get to this country, because we're the land of great jobs. People die and will put themselves at risk to get to this country because we're the land of opportunity. And I never really got that until I got to see another country where they did not have what we have, quite frankly. I got to another country to see families work their whole lives in a different country than what they were born into, and send that money back to their home in the country they were born in. And that's where it clicked for me, is that what we have is an incredible event. So for those folks that never get that, I don't know that you ever will until you are exposed to the gifts that we have before us. You know, the auto sales industry has been such a true gift to me, and the people that I've been lucky enough to work with, is because I know myself personally, I've never let them forget about, you know, I'm a big believer. I wake up every day, 0400 buying. I wake up every day on purpose. On purpose. I can't wait to get the day started. I'm literally flushed in my face right now. My hands are sweating thinking about it. I get fired up about the chance, about the opportunity, about the things that are unknown coming for me today. I mean, I can hold a sales meeting. I can hold a sales meeting like you've never seen, because I get fired up. I know exactly who I am and what opportunities we're given. And by golly, you better not bitch about it, because it's a gift to be here. Get your head right. Get your head right.
Erik,
Okay?
I freaking love it, and I agree, man. You know, you and I, that's another thing we have in common. We spent time overseas in third world countries, and yes, man, there's that creates, when you see what life could be like, you really, you know, at the end of the day, like for me, I'm always thinking to myself, after seeing all that, I'm like, how could I not be successful? How could anyone in our country, in the auto industry, not be successful? You've got these amazing tools. It's such an amazing, the auto industry as a whole is such an amazing place to be in, an amazing culture. I mean, it's just, how can we not be successful? Like, I can't express to you the amount of support. You told me, you're like, Sean, you tell me, I was like, how long do you have? Is an hour okay? You're like, Sean, as long as it takes, I'm with you, brother. That's the type of support that in the auto industry we give each other. Man, how many times have you called me when I'm driving through Brooklyn, New York, trying to get out of there, end up getting a ticket? But it literally is so funny because I'm there for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've got your back. That's something to be grateful for. And you know, salespeople, acknowledge that, man. Give some loyalty to the dealer, because they've invested in you. They've invested in just buying they're the one who's next on the line. Every time you complain about marketing or advertising isn't good enough or you're not getting enough traffic, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes leads don't come in, and it's not the dealer's fault. They could spend it in all the right places. The market can shift. It could be a number of things, but be grateful for what they are providing, and take ownership and do your part to be an entrepreneur. I really believe that after 2 years that a sales, and I prove this time and time again with salespeople that we coach, after about 24 months, they are literally, they don't rely on walk-ins or internet leads anymore. They don't need to, because they've created their own business. And they really do have their own following of customers. And at the end of the day, that gratitude, Erik, great topic, man. And let's start wrapping up. I know that we're a little over on time, but I think there's so much value in this, it doesn't matter. So I want to ask, talking about having your own business, please share with the Car Motivator followers, tell them about Dealer Talk, and give us a 2 to 3 minute, to talk about some of the content and topics and what you're the value you bring with that. Because you guys if you haven't listened to Dealer Talk podcast, you really need to listen to it. It's an amazing automotive podcast. Erik and Herb is buddy Herb, who I also highly respect. He's a Toyota guy. These guys run this podcast. It's really good. Erik, tell us about that podcast and where they can watch it.
Well, Dealer Talk has been and is continuing to be a huge success, and it's not fair to even acknowledge myself as much as I should be acknowledging Herb. Herb Anderson is the driving force, really. I mean, I come up with some crazy questions and the energy maybe, but he's really the mind. He's the gentleman that sets it all up to make it all come together. I'm just telling you, you know, I just want to sell cars, man. I love it so much. This is what I'm about. We create this platform for you, the auto industry, and you know what? I believe even the sales industry as a whole. We create this platform for you to be fed. I don't know other way to put it to you. Okay, we created this platform for you to be fed by the most influential leaders, that thought-provoking, that are actually doing it in the field. Okay, so we try and bring the best of the best. We had a huge contact last week. I'm not one to share his name yet, and I just contacted the guy today that hopefully that leads to something. You'll definitely know who he is. If those things all work out, it's a free podcast. We're never going to advertise on this deal. All we want you to do is to receive. We just want you to get the information. We want you to have access to the information and be able to give it to the access to the information to give it to somebody else. That's what we're about. That's what makes me feel good about being me. And you know what? Turns out does the same thing for her, man. So this is our driving force, and we're just gonna keep on keeping on, brother. We're gonna keep on keeping on. That's what we're gonna do.
I love it, man. So Car Motivator followers, please tune in to the Dealer Talk podcast. Erik, I really appreciate you today. You know, I want to give these guys some really exciting news for January and talk about a couple of things real quick, and then we'll say our goodbyes. So check this out, guys. As you can see, Drive Centric headquarters. I got my little Drive Centric pullover. The reason being is the Car Motivators has been hired by, you know, we've been coaching these guys for years now, and like they're like family to me. That's why I like literally got a key to the place. But we have a they're bringing us over to Sacramento, California, and Car Motivators is going to be working with Drive Centric at NADA. So why I share that with you is because I want to meet you. I will be at the Drive Centric booth, and if you give me 1 second, I'll look that up and give you the booth number. But the reason I'm telling you that is because I want you to come by the Drive Centric booth. You don't have to get a demo of the software or anything like that, but I just want to hang out with you. I just want to meet you. I want to give you some coaching. While I'm at NADA, everyone who knows me, who's met me at a trade show, will tell you one of my favorite things to do is meet someone and ask permission to coach them. Sometimes I don't even ask, I'm sorry. But to add value, to give you help where you want it, need it most. So I'd love to meet you at the Drive Centric booth. It's at 7145W. 7145W is the booth number. So come see me there and say hi. And if you want to check out the CRM, you can too. So Erik, let's talk, let's final parting thoughts, my friend. Any last piece of advice? You know, what would it mean for a leader in the auto industry and for his team or her team if they were to adopt, really take ownership and treat the business like they're an entrepreneur and they're 100% responsible for their own success? What would happen if they completely adopt the mindsets we've discussed in this in our Winning Cultures webinar here?
They need to. This is going to floor you. They're going to need to ask for help, because, quite frankly, you've, as a leader in the dealership that you're at, you've taken them to the level you're currently at. If you want to take them beyond that, you have to get information you don't know. It's not a bad thing to ask for help, guys. It's not a bad thing. And quite frankly, if it takes you from here to there, then how can it be bad? I mean, that I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and especially in today's evolving, fast-paced industry. I will tell you this: if the change that's necessary, if it scares you, that's probably the right path. if it makes you nervous, but look, for those individuals, managers that are out there that you think you know it all, and you're not willing to grow and try different things and ask for help, then I'm sorry, you're gonna lose.
Awesome.
That's
Erik,
all I got.
Erik, thank you so much, brother. Erik, guys, give a round of applause behind your computer, your phone, wherever. Give a round of applause to my man, Erik. The guy is a rock star. Erik the Viking. Check out Dealer Talk Podcast. Remember, guys, feel free to reach out to me anytime you want. My email is Sean, SEAN, @carmotivators.com. You can message me on my cell, 314-323-8234. If you try to call me, I won't answer because I'm coaching people all day. But if you email me or text me, I promise I will respond within 48 hours. Guys, as always, if you're a Car Motivators follower, I absolutely love you. I'm extremely grateful for you for being in our Car Motivators community. Again, big thank you to Erik and Herb for Dealer Talk and Erik for being on our show tonight. Guys, remember, you can achieve great and amazing results through your people if you just coach them. All right, guys, it's Sean Kelley, the Car Biz Coach, CEO of Car Motivators, signing out.